Hello everyone. This video is just a quick update about some of the group discussions. Before I start, I want to say something about the grading of the group discussions in Blackboard. I've received a lot of somewhat panicked emails about why am I basically getting an F for this assignment. You are not. However, there's only one column in the Blackboard grading scheme for all of the semester's group discussions, and I am simply updating those grades as I grade them. And so until the end of the semester, you will not have the full total points in that column that you can receive. So it will look like you're getting an F in that grade, at least until the middle of the semester, if not farther along than that. Rather, it'd be a better idea to kind of keep track of that grade as you go along. Remember that if you are a discussion leader, you can receive up to 10 points for the week. If you are a respondent, you can receive up to 2 points for the week. So if you've only been a respondent 3 weeks, then the most points that you would have been able to earn is 6. So if it's a 6 in that column, it means you have 100%. I can always give you the updated grade if you want to email me directly, but please don't freak out about that. It's just a lot easier for me to manage one column than for me to have 15 columns throughout the whole semester. So just wanted to give you a heads up about that. So I want to talk to you for a second about a couple of the group discussions that you did recently. The first is the CRAAP discussion, where you evaluated web sources. There were 4 discussion leaders, 2 people posted, 9 people responded. So this was the week with the least amount of participation. Again, please try to keep this on your radar. In the end, these points will add up. I don't have a lot to say about this. People did an excellent job of evaluating these sources and putting them in the order that they should have. They identified important information about how you can evaluate them, looking at the author, looking at the references that were cited. I will say that these kinds of tools, thinking about credibility, relevance, authority, purpose, these are tools that apply not only to the web sources that you see, in helping you evaluate the information that you're seeing there, but they'll also be applicable as we switch gears and look more closely at evaluating scholarly sources as well. I want to then draw your attention to the citation quiz. 4 discussion leaders, 2 people posted. Actually 3 people posted. I'm sorry about that. 13 people responded, so much better participation on the citation quiz. There were some problems with this, and so I'm just going to kind of talk through a few things. Many people said the link didn't work. It just took them to Google Books. I'm sorry that I hadn't clarified that in the assignment guidelines, but that's exactly where I wanted it to take you, to this particular book. This would have been what it looked like, and to use the information that you found in the book to write a citation. So if you would have scrolled past the first page, you would have ended up seeing the inside cover. This first inside cover and the following page would include all the information that you would need in order to construct a citation for this book. So the title, the editors, the publishing house, the location it was published, and over on the other side, the year in which the copyright is issued. The next link took you to this page. People were able to adequately identify the title and the authors, but a lot of people ended up missing this other information down here, which would have been important to include in the citation. So if you go down to the bottom, this will give you the information about the publication source, dates, location. And you'll see what this looks like in the final reference page that I show you in this video. So one thing to keep in mind is that this is a conference paper. So when you're using your citation guide, the APA guide, It's important that you look through and find, how do I cite a source that most closely fits the source I'm looking at? You know, not all of them are going to be the same as how you cite a typical scholarly journal article. In this case, a conference paper is going to be slightly different, and if you look up that information, it's going to tell you what you need to pull out of here. The third source took you here to NPR radio program. So this is a media radio program, and all the information you would need for a citation of this would be found on that first page, right? The title, the author, the program, the date, the publication source. And then your last link took you here. People correctly identified this as a scholarly journal article, and this, interestingly, was the citation that had the fewest errors in it when people posted it. So that's good. It means I'm confident that you know how to cite a journal article correctly, and that's a great thing to know. But again, because you're oftentimes going to use a variety of sources, you want to make sure that you're citing everything correctly. So when you make a reference page, this is, of course, then how you would type it up. So as I mentioned before, you really have to pay attention to a few things. One is that in APA, only first initials are used rather than full names. In the title of an article, only the first word is capitalized, or the first word after a question mark or a colon. Or any proper nouns. That's what would be capitalized, Italy and France. You have to include the volume and the issue number. If you have a DOI, you include that as well. And the other thing to keep in mind is the hanging indent. This was missed in a lot of the citations. There's actually a kind of trick to it. I mean, there's probably other ways to do it too, but the way I've figured it out is you actually have to hit enter after the first line and tab it over. That's the only way I can get it to show up the right way. The second and third line have to be tabbed over directly. Lastly is keep in mind that these should be put in any reference page in alphabetical order. So not necessarily in the order they came up, but you need to put them in alphabetical order. So that'll give you some ideas. You could use this page itself as a kind of resource to help you in citing sources correctly. I'm going to be looking for correct citations in your final papers in this class. Other people will be looking for this too. So it's it's not hard, it's somewhat tedious, but it's important to do it. And one of the biggest reasons why it's important to do it is because just as you are in the process of trying to find resources to build a coherent conversation around the topic that you're interested in, that's what references do for other scholars as well, right? Scholars really think of themselves as being part of a larger scholarly conversation. And if I'm reading a paper and I read something that's really interesting and there's a source that is cited in relationship to that, I want to be able to go and find that resource and to find it pretty easily without a lot of trouble. References really help you do that. You know, of course, it also helps to guard against plagiarism. It helps to bring credibility to your work, but it also really is a huge benefit to other scholars who are trying to see who did you cite, how did you use these sources, and can I go and find them for myself? So those are all important reasons to keep in mind that citations are important.